Have you filled out hundreds of job applications with no calls back or no interviews? I hear this from people all the time who are trying to get into IT. Whether you're just trying to get your first IT job or you're trying to transition from one career field into IT, I literally have seen people say that they have filled out hundreds of applications. And whether that's coming from Facebook or Twitter or even LinkedIn, I see this all the time. And 99% of the time, I can guarantee that if you are filling out that many job applications, you aren't landing an interview because your resume, well, it needs work. And just to highlight that other 1% of the time, it's more than likely you aren't qualified for that position, or maybe they already filled that position, or something along those lines. Because if you have legitimately filled out that many applications without a single interview and you have a rock solid resume, there's absolutely no reason you shouldn't be getting called for an interview. So this video is dedicated to giving you some excellent resources that you can follow to improve your resume. And I'm going to show you an example of a resume that we use all the time that kind of highlights maybe some of the best practices that you could be using. So let's just jump into the first resource that we're going to be covering in this video. And this resource comes from Heath Adams, or the Cyber Mentor. And he has an absolutely amazing video where he's talking about this exact subject, which is improving your resume. So I'm going to link to that in the description below, so make sure you check that out. That video is more geared towards somebody who is looking to become a penetration tester. So if that's you, then this is a great resource for you to utilize. But just to kind of highlight what we're going to be taking from his video is actually his resume. And he included his resume sample in that video description over there. I'll also put it in the description below, but you can find that over on his GitHub and you can download that directly, and then you can then modify that resume, well, based on your personal experience. So let's talk about that. Let's pull this resume up real quick. So listen, I already know what some of you are thinking. This looks pretty plain. It's pretty basic for the most part, right? And that's exactly how it should be. We work in the world of information technology, and nobody cares how pretty or cutting edge your resume looks. They care about the information that's on the actual resume. This is an example of a resume that I'm talking about that really nobody cares about. It even shows their picture on there, and it shows all of these little bars that kind of highlight your level of interest or your level of expertise in that subject. Quite frankly, all of that just takes up space, and you could be utilizing that space to really kind of highlight what you are best at, or what you're going to be best suited for, or your best experiences and your projects and everything that actually really kind of talks about you and makes you look really good. Those things don't exactly add to it. It makes your resume a little bit more cluttered. It makes things hard to find. You will sometimes be applying for a job that might have literally hundreds of other job applicants that are applying for that same position. And when somebody's going through hundreds of applications, they want to go through them as quickly as possible. And they want to absorb as much relevant information as they can as well. So they're not going to really take the time to navigate through your resume if it has pretty things on there like these fancy bars and, like your photo on there that doesn't need to be on there. They don't care about that. So first and foremost, that was one of the biggest points that I want to get across to you. The plain resumes are going to be better for you. And I know somebody in the comments is going to be like, hey, my fancy resume worked for me. Yeah, I'm sure it did. And some people win the lotto and some people get hit by lightning. Moving on. So let's just rock the KISS method and talk about this resume. And that's keep it simple. Stupid. So looking over at Heath's resume, you can see here right off the bat from the top, Heath Maverick Adams, got his name up there, big bold letters, really hard to miss. And then you can have in there your address. You don't need to put your specific address by any means, just like a location, your city and state, and your phone number, and of course, the best email address to reach you at. And if you have an email address that's like, smokemoorebongs420@hotmail.com, you should probably change that to something more professional. Anyway, moving on. The next part here is the objective. And this is probably going to be one of the most important or crucial parts of your resume, depending on your personal experience and the types of jobs that you are applying for. And your personal experience and the job that you're applying for is really going to help us tailor this section really well. So let's read what Heath has to say here, and we'll talk about some of the important points, and then we'll talk about what you could do for your own resume. So Heath has here, cybersecurity professional with a strong interest in ethical hacking, penetration testing, vulnerability analysis, and network security, hardworking, energetic, personable, and technical-minded individual. So right there within the first two sentences, it's really kind of highlighting and showing what Heath is interested in, what his strong personal experience may be, and kind of his passion as well. It kind of is implied slide there, if you will, because I love how it just kind of transitions immediately. Like you have the technical part of it where he's talking about like this is what I feel very confident about. And then it's talking about, well, he's hardworking, energetic, personable, technical minded, right? So that hardworking, energetic, those are all just kind of great soft skills and things to see. So that's, something that I like that's put there. It's kind of really highlighting and showing off more about you, it's kind of talking a little bit more personable about who you are, if you will. Now, this next part I love also because it says possesses exceptional customer service and communication skills with a strong ability to multitask and resolve issues quickly. And then currently in a cybersecurity role where I continue to develop and learn new abilities while contributing to the overall success of the organization. And then he says, I also possess, and then he breaks down further, more specifically, where he feels like his strong or, his best experiences or, I guess his strong suits are. So I love this because it's just kind of talking about him and what he feels the most confident in. And if we go through this, that third sentence that he had there, possesses exceptional customer service. Now, keep in mind, Heath is a penetration tester, and he's been a penetration tester for a few years. And this is his most up-to-date resume. And he would still put on there, possesses exceptional customer service and communication skills. Because above all else, outside of all the technical things, the most important thing or most important skill that you could have from any level in IT is customer service and communication skills. And I would highly, highly encourage you as well to highlight that on your resume if you have those skills. So as we see here, again, this is really kind of highlighted and geared towards somebody who is a penetration tester, and he's really trying to, show off those skills. Now, you might not be there in your life right now. You might not be going to be a penetration tester. Maybe you're just trying to break into the field. So again, for the purpose of this video, we're just talking about applying for some type of technical support role, some type of entry-level role, like a help desk role or just like a IT technician type of role. That's really kind of what we're gonna gear this towards, but you can gear this any way that you want. So now that we kind of broke this down just a tiny bit, your next steps are going to be heading over to your new best friend. And your new best friend is none other than ChatGPT. If you're terrible at writing things about yourself like I am, then, the GPT, they are definitely going to be able to help you out and make your life so much easier. So I'm just going to kind of freestyle this one off the top of my head based off of what Heath had written. And again, we're going to gear this more towards a role that's of, technical support. So with that said, we'll say, for instance, like we only have experience working on projects and, well, all of our projects kind of align towards more of these entry-level roles. So we're just kind of putting this scenario into our head. Like we're just pretending right now. So these made up projects and everything that we're going to talk about, again, are going to more so align with an entry-level IT role. And just keep in mind, you can replace technical support or entry-level or help desk or whatever with whatever type of role that you're looking for. So if you're looking to be a network engineer or if you're looking to become a penetration tester, you could just replace that or think about how we can reword that for those specific roles. And that's what we're going to learn how to do in this video right now. So for me, if I was in this position trying to apply for a role, I would definitely be highlighting my customer service experience, my communication skills, and I would make sure that they know or at least kind of understand that I have some technical aptitude and that I'm very interested in technology. So we might put customer service driven IT professional with a strong desire to learn and help people with their day-to-day technology needs. So we're just kind of put this into ChatGPT to kind of see what it says back to us. We're just kind of feeding it some information to kind of give us both an idea of what we're looking for. So this is kind of what I like to utilize ChatGPT for. Everybody, I think, uses it probably differently. I'm sure there's a right way and there's definitely wrong ways. But this always just seems to work well for me. I just want to put like my thought process out there. Like, this is what I'm thinking. What can ChatGPT give back to me that can help me reword this better? Just make it sound better, look better, right? So now that I kind of gave it that information, so it's going to give us some key traits and skills to help us succeed. So these are more things that we could possibly highlight within this section. And again, keep in mind, we're just trying to tell a little story about who we are. And keep in mind, it's just for the section here where the objective is. So we kind of have this information. We could try to get ChatGPT to feed us something back for our resume. So we could say, please write a short objective for a customer service driven IT professional. Let's see, hang on. Please write a short objective for my resume for a position as a customer service driven IT professional. So let's see what ChatGPT feeds back to us. could be pretty good. So here we go. It says, to leverage my customer service oriented approach and technical expertise as an IT professional and to provide exceptional support and assistance to users with their day-to-day technology needs, committed to fostering positive customer service experiences through effective communication, problem solving, and continuous learning, seeking a role that allows me to utilize my strong desire to help people while staying up to date with emerging technologies and delivering high quality service in a fast-paced IT environment. Yeah, that's actually kind of solid. I'm all right with that. This is why I love ChatGPT. It just sometimes it feeds you some pretty good stuff. Like if you have no idea how to write things about yourself, like this just did it all for us in a very professional way. Like no effort, right? Like this is what ChatGPT is for. Like it just makes your life a little bit easier. We could have struggled with this all day. We could have went out onto the Googles and looked up so many different examples of people providing things or things just like this and reworded it for ourselves. But this is probably the quickest way for us to do that. So all we would have to do is, copy and paste this into our resume. And now just to touch on this part right here, because it says to leverage, we could put in here seeking to leverage my customer service oriented. That sounds maybe a little bit better. And you're obviously going to want to play with this. Maybe you're really good at writing things. I'm not. So I used the Google. Well, I used the Google all of my life to help me with things like this. Now ChatGPT is kind of taking the reins of that, but it's helped significantly with a lot of things that I need to reword a little bit better because I just suck at writing. That's why I make these YouTube videos. Yay. So anyway, I think you kind of get the idea, and we could utilize ChatGPT to do this for us. So now that hopefully you understand a little bit more about this, you need to take the time and think about what you are going to be best at. Like, what are your strong suits? What do you bring to the table? Do you have customer service skills? Hopefully you do. Highlight those as much as possible. Highlight and find really anything that you can that's going to relate to what it is to be an IT professional. And if you don't know what that is, or if you're confused about what that could be, we're going to talk about that because ChatGPT is your new best friend for this. But let's move on and continue talking about the resume. So the next section there is education. If you have some education, obviously put it there. If you just have high school, that's okay to put there. You don't necessarily have to if you don't want to. I don't, because I actually never graduated from high school. Yet I've worked in IT for 20 something years. Kind of weird, right? Just goes to show you. Anyway, if you have some type of college degree, definitely put it in there. I would only put your GPA on there if it's over like a 3.5 or so. If it's anything less than that, you may not want to put it on there. You don't have to add it at all, but definitely make sure you highlight any and every single degree that you have. Now, the next section is certifications, and I think that's pretty self-explanatory here. The only thing that I really want to add is this not worth your time or worth anybody's effort to put on there an ETA of a certification, like the estimated time that's going to take you to get that certification. I see so many people put on there like they're going to get their CCNA in 3 months, like looking to accomplish in 3 months, or ETA like 3 months, or like some month in the year, blah 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 blah. Anyway, I wouldn't even put that there. If you don't have that certification, don't even bother putting it there. You could utilize that space or that room that you would have for putting something that you don't even have yet in highlighting your projects and things that we'll talk about later in this video as well. But anyway, don't even waste the space of putting on there an ETA if you don't have that cert. It's just not worth it. And one of the big reasons why I put that is because so many people just forget about their resume and they have it on there, and you might utilize the same resume over and over again, which you shouldn't be doing, by the way. But I'm just hoping that I can give you these little tips and tricks along the way to just help you out in the future. But anyway, don't put it on there because you're probably more than likely going to forget. And this happens all the time. You apply for a job and you have on there that you are going to achieve whatever certification in April of 2022, for instance. Well, it's 2023, you're applying for a job, use this resume, and they pull this up in the interview and they're like, hey, did you get this certification in 2022? Like, you have it on there, and you're like, well, gosh, no, I didn't even have the time to finish and get that certification in 2022. But you put on there that you were going to achieve that certification in 2022. But it's 2023. Do you see where I'm going with this? You just forget. It's sloppy. So just don't even put it on there if you don't have that certification. Now, the next part of this is experience, and this is really going to depend on where you're at in life, and that's really going to help determine what you put on there, right? Because you might not have any experience at all, or maybe all of your experience is in something that just does not even relate at all to IT. But as you can see from Heath's resume, he has a lot of experience working in cybersecurity and IT. But at some point in his life, at one point, he was an accountant, and then he worked in the help desk and he moved his way up. But for the sake of this video and how we're going to break this part of it down for the experience, let's just assume that you have some type of job experience. It doesn't matter what or where that job is. It could be McDonald's, Home Depot, it could have been a police officer, maybe you were an accountant. Whatever the case may be, your biggest challenge here is going to be determining how your past experience can help show some of the technical experience or technical aptitude that you would need for a job now that you're trying to get into IT. And everyone, I'm telling you, like everyone struggles with this because it can be hard to like look at your past experience in a job that does not relate at all to IT and figure out like what bullet points should I put on here that really kind of help emphasize some type of experience that could relate to IT, if that makes sense, right? So if we looked at some of the examples that we listed previously, like McDonald's, Home Depot, a police officer, accountant, how do we help show technical aptitude from those positions? How can we highlight on a resume what is really going to help us stand out for these IT positions, even though those weren't IT positions? And that's, it's really something that's always been hard to explain to people. I've always struggled with that, quite honestly, because it takes time to sit down there and think about like all the different job duties you've done in these past jobs that you've had, and then like think about like, well, gosh, how in the world could I relate flipping burgers to IT? And like that's just like not a great example from my part. I'm just trying to like be whatever here about it, but you kind of get what I'm saying. Like, how do you do this? And again, it's always been very difficult for anybody to do this, whether it's you or me trying to explain it to you or trying to learn it from somebody. But thanks to our new best friend, we could do this now. And it's actually kind of really cool and really easy to do. And that's, our best friend, ChatGPT. It's going to help us out. So let's head over to ChatGPT and talk about this. So I actually pulled this up earlier just to test it out. And my question to ChatGPT was, how will my job experience working at McDonald's help me in an IT support role? And then it came up with all of this stuff right here. Look at customer service, problem solving, adaptability and multitasking, attention to detail, teamwork. Like these are all actually really good things that really actually make a difference in the world of IT. Customer service, huge in IT. Problem solving, yes, absolutely. And you're probably like wondering like problem solving. Well, here, they highlight this for you. Working in a fast-paced environment like McDonald's often requires quick thinking and problem-solving skills. You might have encountered various challenges while managing customer orders, handling equipment failures, or resolving conflicts. These problem-solving abilities can be valuable when troubleshooting technical issues in an IT support role. You'll be able to approach problems methodically and find efficient solutions. Like, this is awesome. How can anybody like be upset with ChatGPT? Like, this is like a lifesaver right here. Like that was huge for you. Like now that I've kind of like unlocked this for you, hopefully, you can literally take any role, past experience that you've had, plug it into ChatGPT, and it's going to tell you exactly, pretty much, well, almost exactly, all of the highlights or all of the bullet points that you could be using and highlighting and, kind of wrapping your resume around. So let's look at this next question then I popped into ChatGPT. What are the best bullet points that I could put on my resume with only job experience working at McDonald's if I were applying for an IT support role? So here we go. Customer service excellence. Here's some bullet points. Troubleshooting and problem solving with some bullet points. Technical proficiency with some bullet points. You get the picture here, right? And again, you could take and replace IT support role with any other role that you're interested in achieving, and you could replace McDonald's with any other past experience that you had. So what we did with an accountant, how will my job experience working as an accountant help me in an IT support role? Well, here we go. Analytical skills, attention to detail, problem solving, organizational skills, communication and documentation, adaptability to technology, right? And then I ask, what are the best bullet points to put on a resume if I only have experience as an accountant when applying for an IT support role? Again, it breaks this down for us and it really kind of highlights what we should be putting on our resume there. So you have to think about your specific roles, all the different like things that you specifically touched, and you could plug that into ChatGPT ChatGPT. You could say, in my experience as an accountant, I worked with this type of software, and you could list all of that software in ChatGPT. And then you could say, what about everything that I told you here applies to XYZ position? ChatGPT really makes this simple and easy for you to do. So make sure you are utilizing this as a resource to help you, because I know how hard it can be to think of how your past experience can relate to anything in IT. And then, even further, let's say you've worked in IT for a couple years. You've been in the help desk or you've been a sysadmin, and now you're looking to become a penetration tester. So now you could say, how does my experience as a system administrator apply to a role as a penetration tester? Let's see what ChatGPT says. And there we go. ChatGPT is going to start giving us all of these great answers, which are going to be pretty much spot on. If anything, you're looking at these, the first keywords that they're giving, and you can build all around that to really kind of highlight and show on your resume. So use this as a resource because it will be invaluable for you. So now we have a pretty awesome blueprint laid out for us here. You should have a pretty great resume started now, and I'm excited for you. But let's talk about the rest of the resume here because we're not done yet. This next section is most often going to be the very most important section for some of you out there. If you don't have projects that you've done to list here, the next thing that you're going to do when you finish watching this video is going out, and you could check out the links in the description that I'll give you below because they're for building home labs. That's the next thing you should do after this video. Build a home lab. Learn everything that you can about building out your own projects. You could do this all from the comfort of your own home with your very own computer or laptop. You don't even have to get other physical equipment because you could virtualize everything from your main computer. And these can all be projects. So follow the video recommendations listed in the comments below if you need help setting up a lab or you need help building out a project. But it's kind of funny because throughout this whole entire video, we've used our best friend for different resources. What if I told you that we could also use our best friend again one more time to help us build out projects? So let's head back over to the ChatGPT real quick and talk about that. You might not have any idea where to start here. So if you were looking to get an entry-level IT role or some type of IT support role, what type of projects could you build to show on your resume? Well, we can just ask ChatGPT that. What type of projects can I start to show on my resume if I were looking to apply for an entry-level IT support role? Or whatever, however you want to word that. I didn't really want to word it that way, but we're just doing this on the fly. So initially right here, home lab setup. Man, we just talked about that. Build a small home scale lab. Yeah, you can learn more about DNS, DHCP, and web servers. Great, I agree with that. Troubleshooting practice. Yes, you could virtualize pretty much any operating system out there and you can break it as much as you want. And as long as you're doing that on that virtualized system, it won't affect anything else. That's really cool. So check that out. I highly recommend that. IT documentation. One of the great things, and I'm glad that put this in here for us because you should be documenting this entire process. Anytime you build out a new project or you build out a lab, document that entire process. Write out every step that you've taken and like all the things that you've done for that specific project. And you could throw that out online, share it with people, put it on a blog, create your own video. That is all great things to have to show that you have done and completed some of these projects. So heading over to ChatGPT, we could just put in here right away, what type of home lab can I build if I want to work in help desk? And it's going to give us some ideas. We could virtualize pretty much any operating system that's out there. So if you've never seen Linux before, you could virtualize Linux and start getting hands-on experience with Linux within your own virtual lab. That could be a project of yours. You could set up your own small network. Like you don't even have to have the physical equipment for it. There's things called Packet Tracer and GNS3 that will let you virtualize pretty much any type of networking scenario you want to do. And most importantly, before I forget, document all of this. Anytime you start a new project or you build a new lab, document every single thing that you do. And you could show this off to people. You could put it in a blog, you could put it in a video, on your own website, wherever. Document these things because at some point you're going to want to show proof that, hey, you've done these projects and you've done these cool things. So make sure you do document all of these things. But anyway, you'll definitely learn more about virtualization through building out labs. Active Directory is so huge in any type of entry-level job. And that's really kind of, I think, the most important projects that you should be starting first of all. If you're looking for an entry-level job, virtualize Windows Server, promote that to a domain controller, and then start setting up Active Directory. I think somebody I know, meaning me, has some videos on how to actually do this entire process. And even with this next step, help desk ticketing systems. You can set up your own ticketing system in a virtual machine, and I have a video on how to do that as well. Between learning Active Directory and a ticketing system, like those are the most important projects that every single person should be doing if they're looking to step foot in any type of entry-level IT role. I promise you. Active Directory, ticketing systems. Remember those. Learn those. Please, I beg you. Anyway, I think you get the point. Like, you could throw any type of scenario here into ChatGPT and say, hey, what type of lab can I build if I want to learn more about ticketing systems? And it will tell you how to do that. Or if you want to learn how to break Active Directory, say, hey, how can I break my Active Directory lab? And then you can say, hey, how do I fix that? And guess what? Probably help you walk you through that as well. So make sure you use ChatGPT. It's such a great resource. I've said it like a million times now, but it's the truth. So anyway, now that you have some projects to list here, this is going to be absolutely vital for the position that you're actually applying for. Meaning if you're applying for some type of technical support role, you want to make sure that your projects relate specifically to a technical support role. And if you're applying for like a penetration tester role, you want to make sure that all of your projects relate somewhat to cybersecurity and penetration testing. For a technical support role and pretty much every single other type of entry level to system administrator type of role, you'll absolutely want to highlight things like Active Directory, group policy, Azure or AWS, cloud, lab projects that you've done, and virtualization, data recovery, backups. And I'm sure ChatGPT could give us a lot of other great ideas of projects that we could complete. So please make sure to utilize that as a resource as well. So now we have a solid idea of what we need to include for our project section. Let's talk about the rest of this resume, because not all of this might apply to you. But one thing here, if you do have volunteer experience, and that's volunteering anywhere, be sure to put this on your resume. And if you haven't volunteered anywhere, what are you waiting for? Go volunteer. It looks really good on your resume. So make sure you include that as well. But as far as this other stuff here, maybe you've done some talks somewhere. Maybe you've done some CTFs. That would be great things to put on there as well. But above all else, or at the very least, put on there any type of volunteer work that you've done. So that kind of sums up the resume and building out a better resume, I guess, if you will. It's pretty simple, it's pretty to the point, and I hope that you utilize ChatGPT to help you along the way. Making these changes that we've highlighted in this video so far will help you stand out significantly. Because again, as we said earlier on in this video, I assure you, if you have applied for hundreds of jobs and you have not landed an interview, it's because your resume sucks. I'm sorry to say that. It's just the truth. But following these steps will greatly help you. So I hope you make some of these changes to your resume, and good luck to you. I hope you found this video useful. Be sure to check out all the links in the description below. And if you have any thoughts, comments, concerns, throw them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. As always, like, subscribe, all that fun nonsense that I'm supposed to say. As always, take it easy.